So hi Kerry, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, hi, thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Can we please start by you giving an introduction to yourself, your business and what you sell?
Of course. So, my name is Kerry, and I create wellbeing candles using essential oils and working with other small businesses to create my pottery so that they're all refillable. And my business launched in 2021.
Amazing, thank you. So your business is called Whist, have I pronounced that
Yes,
correctly?
yes, which is actually an old English word that so any nice words, nice phrases I hear, because I love words, I write them in a little book. And whist is actually a really old English word from the 1500s, meaning to be still. So I just thought it was perfect for my candle brand.
Oh, it is a lovely word.
It's a
I
gorgeous
really
word, isn't
like
it? It's very
it.
whimsical.
Yeah, it is nice. I'd never heard the word. I didn't know of its origins. Oh, thank you for explaining that.
Oh, you're welcome.
So, can you please tell us the story behind Whist? What inspired you to start the business and how and where did it all begin?
Oh, do you know the journey to whist was quite convoluted in many ways. So I had a holistic and well-being spa, which I'd built from it was actually built from a spare room at my mum and dad's house, resulting in an 8 treatment room high street premises. So it took me 16 years to build that. And I was immensely proud of it, and it was beautiful, but it was incredibly stressful dealing with staff and dealing with just the run-ins of a high street premises. So I'd always, obviously I'm a trained aromatherapist. I trained in 16 years ago, so I'd always used essential oils to manage any sort of feelings of stress or anything like that. And so started creating candles purely to use in our treatment rooms within the spa. But I never dreamt it would become a business. It was purely because I didn't want to use anything synthetic within the salon. Um, and then in 2017, I actually had a complete breakdown. I It was just stress, and my husband had been diagnosed with cancer, so it was just a massive, out of nowhere, no warning breakdown. And I got hospitalized. And when I was in the hospital, the doctor said to me, unless you change something in your life, you are going to end up with a full-on breakdown. So within 2 months, I'd walked away from the salon, literally shut the doors, closed it, walked away. And then spent a year recovering. And then with very, very gentle, also known as shoving from my husband, he convinced me to start exploring launching my candle brand as a business. So it was a very convoluted way to come to business. And then I almost launched in 2018. No, sorry, 2019. But unfortunately, we found out my husband's cancer came back, so that got shelved. And and I eventually launched in 2021. And it was purely because aromatherapy I love anyway, but the way that it can change the mood of a home, it can change, just even if you aren't looking for the well-being benefits, the way a candle can kind of almost just calm the nervous system. It just made me want to offer that to others. So yeah, that's where it kind of stemmed from and then was born from.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm really sorry for all of the circumstances that led up to it as well, because it sounds like you had a
Oh,
really
thank
hard
you.
time.
Yeah, it was a very tough road, but my husband believed in my brand and in me way before I did, even when I was recovering from, the mental stress, and he just knew that it would become a brand. So I took more convincing. But yeah, so he was always the absolute biggest cheerleader and support for me. Sadly, he did eventually lose his battle in February this year. So yes,
I'm so sorry. And
thank you.
it sounds wonderful how much support he gave you.
Do you know, he was the best. He was the best box stamper, tea maker, tissue paper ripper-upper, anything he could do to help me. One of the most beautiful things was just after I launched Whist, I was in my candle room, walked out into my garden. My husband actually had YouTube up, trying to learn how to tie the perfect bow for the gift sets. It was the cutest thing.
Oh, that's amazing. How wonderful to have that support, because starting anything, I mean, I know that you'd had your spa, so you'd ran a business before, so I guess that side of it wasn't YouTube, but this is doing something totally different.
Oh, and honestly, the difference between a service-based business and a product-based business are night and day. I mean, I personally think a product-based business is so much harder, especially when you're just online, because it's only you can get your brand out there, you know. So although I had kind of a little bit of business sense, I had zero clue on how to do anything to do with product-based business. So it's been a learn on the job scenario.
Yeah, and with that in mind, how have you got word about your brand out there? Because as you say, having a service business, and particularly one with a physical premises, I guess with your spa, you're getting foot traffic, you're getting people see the business, you're getting repeat customers, people
Yeah,
recommending you, TripAdvisor reviews, Google, all of that stuff. But how
absolutely.
did you approach all of this with a product?
I mean, I started on Instagram, sort of just trying to promote, my brand. But I had a real fear of Instagram as well, because I didn't do the Instagram for the spa. My girls, the young girls, they know all this thing. I've started Whist when I was 49, so it was kind of a real learning curve for me with this social media. Sorry, can you hear that banging?
I can, but don't worry,
Are you okay?
we're okay.
Um, and so I had to kind of learn how to do that. But for the first 2 years of having my Instagram for Whist, I wouldn't show my face. I was terrified. So that's been a big kind of hurdle to overcome, to learn that, people do want to see the person behind the brand, and, they want to connect with you in some way. Being a wellbeing brand, that was an important thing anyway. So yeah, I had to kind of get over myself and get on there. So I did that. I didn't do many markets, funny enough, because I just didn't feel that a lot of them suited my brand. So I did a few, maybe 4, and that was that. So I have been really lucky. We have just over 70% returning customer rate. So that's a beautiful number to me. And obviously those people recommend us. So it's kind of been a bit of word of mouth and social media, I would say, really.
That's really interesting, particularly what you said about Instagram, because Instagram is where I found you, Kerry. I can't
Oh,
remember how, but I think you just popped up. Maybe it was your story. I'm not sure. Maybe something, I don't know how the algorithm works. It will sometimes show you things and people it thinks you might like. And
yes.
I can't remember if it was a story or a post, but it was you, and it was you speaking to camera. And I
Okay. So
went, oh, this is interesting. And I watched that. And then, once you watch someone, then you get shown more and more. And
yes.
honestly, that's how I first found out about your brand.
Oh, that's so interesting.
It was seeing you. It wasn't the products that came up, it was you.
I know,
And
and it's such a big thing now, isn't it? Kind of people buy from people, which we've known that for years. But I think when you have a product-based business, you think you can kind of hide behind it, but you can't. You can't. And it's the proof is in the pudding, in that since I started showing up for my brand and kind of getting over those nerves, my social media following, I think, has trebled almost. It just, so people do want to see you, and you have to get over those fears of that, you're perhaps, like, I had fears thinking I'm not what people would expect from my brand, and I've got a common, Essex accent. People might not like that, but you have to just get over that. And yeah, your brand is you. So yeah.
definitely, and particularly with something like candles is a good example, because I mean, as you'll know, there are lots of people who sell candles.
Yes.
So I think for someone to choose yours over someone else's, part of it has to be, obviously they have to like your products and want to buy them again and think they smell beautiful, but part of it has to be you as well, because like you say, there's only so many variations. I know your candles are quite different because of how you make them. We'll talk about that a bit later, but you're right, if you're not showing any of yourself, it makes it a lot harder for someone to choose to buy from you.
Yeah, and I had discovered a love of Instagram once I discovered a love of community. And that was maybe a side effect I didn't know would happen. Naively, I just thought Instagram accounts were Instagram accounts, but actually when I started showing up, you get those messages from people, and you kind of get those connections with, and they're true, real connections with people. And even, you know, when I lost my husband in February, the support that I've had outpouring from that, from these people who kind of don't know me, but showing up as myself, warts and all, because I try to always keep it authentic. So hence the messy hair sometimes, but you know, I will never paint a picture that life is perfect, because that's not the way it is. So and I think people resonate with that, and that's, yeah, I love the community on Instagram. I'm very fortunate, all lovely people. You know, I don't touch wood, I don't get any of the nastiness that I've heard other people get. So yeah, I'm very fortunate, very fortunate.
And I wonder if some of that is because of how honest you are, because I think that people are getting, well, maybe I'm only speaking to myself, but I don't want to see things that look perfect and beautiful anymore. Because
Yes.
you know that things aren't really like that, and it's much nicer seeing what really goes on and seeing someone's, I don't know, messy studio where they work, or do you know what I mean, all these sorts of things. You can just relate to people so much easier.
And I think as well, in my eyes, and it's only a personal thing, being a well-being brand, I wouldn't be a very authentic well-being brand if I was pretending that life is all unicorns and, you know, roses around the door. So I've always tried to kind of just be myself. And you know, you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. I totally get that, but you know, I wanted, I suppose, to connect with people that, you know, I've had the same struggles they have. I started my brand with £100 in my bank because, as I say, I walked away from my business. I didn't sell it. I'd walked away with a huge fat bill to pay. So my candle brand was started with literally £100 that my mum gave me with my birthday. And that's how I bought my first lot of wax. And I just always wanted to be, you know, I think sometimes social media can make us feel less than, and I would hate to ever make anybody feel that. So I just rock up as me.
That's amazing. And coming back to starting, so you mentioned that you had some money and you made those first candles. How did you know? This might be a really silly question, but scent is so personal, and so how did you know, okay, this is what I'm going to start? How did you know where to start? Because I think that you can almost be overwhelmed, can't you, at the beginning? You can have all these different ideas. Like, how did you know,
Yeah.
okay, this is what I'm going to start with?
Well, I think for me, I perhaps had a little bit of a head start there, in that although the scent is incredibly important, of course, for me, it always started with a feeling. It was, how do I want that person who uses or burns this candle to feel? And then I would use my experience as an aromatherapist to choose my oils. And then it would be a case of, you know, blend, because not always. I mean, I can literally show you. So this little blend I made a couple of days ago smells absolutely beautiful as it is. Pop it in a candle, it's disgusting. So, you know, you have to work all that out. So although I had the experience of aromatherapy, I didn't have the experience of them working in candles. So, but it always, and even now, sort of, so I've made candles now for 10 years, but even now it always starts with, how do I want someone to feel? Do I want them to feel grounded or relaxed or sleep, you know, sleep aid or uplifted? And that's the basis I start the process with.
That
And go,
makes a lot of sense.
yeah, yeah. I was also very fortunate, right at the beginning, maybe 8-9 years ago. Again, my lovely husband sent me on a one-day workshop with a guy in London who made candles. He had a royal warrant, and he made candles and done a one-to-one workshop with me. So I kind of learnt the basics of making a candle, which was brilliant because I had no clue. And then the sort of the scent side of it came from, yeah, my experience in aromatherapy. So yeah, I was fortunate in that way. And of course, if you use fragrance oils, they're all made for you anyway. So if somebody was going to start making candles and aromatherapy wasn't their gig, then fragrance oils they can just literally purchase and, pour and mixed kind of scenario.
Oh, that's really interesting. I mean, I know it won't be quite as straightforward as that, but yeah, I had no idea that was.
Yeah. I made it sound a little bit. There's still lots of testing needs doing, but the fragrance is already created for them.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
So speaking about fragrances, so I know you don't use any at-risk essential oils.
No.
So can you tell us what are at-risk essential oils? Because until I came across this on your website, I didn't know what the term was. So that might be interesting for people.
Oh, okay. Okay, so as we have endangered animals and, endangered coral reefs and all these sort of things, there is actually it's called the Red List, and it's by the International Union for Conservation of Nature. And they create a red list of endangered flora and fauna and plants. And I learned about this back in my aromatherapy training. So I kind of always known about it. And I was adamant that I didn't want to use any of the essential oils from any of those plants. So to give you an example, sandalwood, let's go with sandalwood. Absolutely beautiful oil, but I personally won't use it because it's on the almost extinct due to over farming. It's on the vulnerable and over farmed list. So as somebody with sustainability at the heart of my brand, it would make absolutely no sense for me to use an oil from a plant that's at risk. The same as rose, I won't use a rose essential oil because, and I mean, I'm using, someone's going to knock on my door. Hang on a second. Sorry, someone's just knocking on my door. Sorry, 2 seconds.
Don't worry.
Yep. So with regard to rose, for example, I won't use a rose essential oil because it's something like 10,000 pounds of rose petals to make a pound of rose essential oil. So it just, it's balancing the gifts that we get from nature with essential oils to actually being mindful of how we use those. I mean, there are ways of undoing it as well. For example, frankincense used to be a big no-no. It was, it was over farmed and we couldn't use it, but that's actually come around again now. So frankincense is a beautiful oil again that we can now use without, going against those ethics. But of course, the list is always changing. But there is counteracting on that as well, because a lot of essential oil providers now will work with the farmers of the essential oils to make sure their practices are sustainable. So it's just a little bit of due diligence, really, to ensure that you're not buying from somebody who doesn't follow good practices. So yeah, it's we're trying. The essential oil market is is getting better in that way. It's just being careful who you buy from.
That's really interesting because honestly, I've never heard about the at-risk oil. So thank you for explaining that. And
That's kind of, and I think it's important that people know that if they're using essential oils, because if we're given these beautiful oils to use by nature, we have to kind of give back and be sensible.
yeah, definitely. So thank you for explaining that because I also think as consumers, it's useful for us to know that as well.
Oh, good. I mean, I always worry that things like that are probably boring to other people, but I just feel they're an important thing to express when I talk. So the words like sustainability and eco-friendly are bounded about so readily now, aren't they? And I think you have to kind of, for want of a better word, put your money where your mouth is and actually know, well, I am sustainable because of this or because of that, not just because I use recycled packaging. So yeah, it's an important ethic to me. I live my life as a vegan and eco conscious lifestyle. So it's really important that those ethics are through my brand.
Definitely. And like you say, it's something tangible because you're right. Lots of brands will say they're sustainable, but you can point to the tangible things you're doing. I think that's really important.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're getting better though. I think that, people are learning that eco-friendly has to dig a little bit deeper than just using recycled paper or
Definitely. I think everyone's coming a really long way from where we were 5 years ago.
Thank goodness.
So let's talk a bit more about fragrance, if that's okay, because
Yeah,
I think selling anything fragranced online is a real challenge.
yes,
How have you approached this? I know you mentioned before you your candles, your starting point is the feeling, but obviously there is still the scent, and
yes,
customers probably do want to know, well, what will this smell like when I light it in my office or my bedroom, or where, wherever they're using it.
yeah.
So how are you approaching that? Because that must be one of the trickiest things about selling candles, in my opinion, online.
It can be, but I've found that if so, if you was to go to my website, there's a quiz there anyway, a fragrance quiz. So if you're looking for the well-being benefits, there's a fragrance quiz that you can do, and it will direct you to some suggestions. People can then go to them suggestions, and it will give the scent notes. But also, I try to give a little bit of what I call the scent story, the reason why I created it. So, for example, I do a candle called Bohemia. Well, that was inspired by my very carefree years of traveling throughout Asia. So I wanted to capture those notes of the vetiver and a bit of lemongrass and all those kind of flavors that make me think of Asia. So it gives people then, I hope, an idea of what they're going to smell from that candle, and it also gives what it's good for. So, uplifting and creating a feeling of carefreeness, that kind of, it will give that bit, but also I try and to explain the scent notes and where my inspiration for that came from. So I hope that helps. I also have what I call discovery bags. So it has 10 of my best-selling fragrances, either in tea lights or wax melts, that people can purchase, and then they get kind of one of everything to try before they go for the big one.
That's a really good idea. I really like that.
Yeah, and they're so popular because I think it gives people just a little taste of something, and I always love hearing what ends up being their favorite, because it will always be the one that they think won't be. It's and I find that so interesting because your body knows what it needs. So if they open that bag and they're instantly drawn to one, then the likelihood is that that's what their body needs at that time. So people might think, oh, I think I'm going to love the one with rose geranium in, but actually it's the one with spearmint in that they love. So it's really interesting. I love things like that. But I think it does help. I think it does help to offer those kind of ways to try before they buy. But I've never actually had anybody say, oh, I don't like buying scent online. I mean, perhaps they wouldn't tell me, but most people just try it. And I think it helps as well. What do I offer now? 1, 2, 3, 4 different, 5 different sizes of candle, starting from like £14 up to £50. So there's an option where they could perhaps try it with a little less risk.
Yes, that's actually true, and I've definitely done that when I've bought candles before. Is it sometimes quite nice to get a few smaller ones and then see which ones, like you say, you're more drawn to.
Yeah. And also with the refills, because the refillable candles that I introduced 2 years ago outsell my other candles 4 to 1 now. And the refills are half the price of the standard candle. So it's a really cost-effective way to keep trying different scents. So I think that has kind of helped as well. I always listen to my consumers as well. I'm always asking little surveys on Instagram and things to get people's feedback. And feedback that people leave in the review system always helps me. I really do pay attention to these things. So it's important to me that people are happy. So I will pay attention and tweak things if I feel they need it. And so it's kind of, I suppose it's quite a four-pronged approach with feedback, discovery packs, scent descriptions.
But I think this is all really useful things for people to know, though, because I think I've definitely I've spoken to other brands on here before who've said, oh, I find it really hard to sell something scented, online. So I think these are all fantastic ideas that other people can learn from as well.
Yeah, I mean, if a discovery pack can be created fairly, because a discovery pack I feel has to be fairly cost effective for a customer, because if it's dearer than a normal size candle, that probably put them off. So I made sure that I kept the cost as low as possible. So although it does come in a beautiful bag, I've kept, the packaging to a minimum just to keep that cost as low as possible. And it's not, you're not kind of, for me, I'm not aiming to make money on those discovery packs. I'm aiming for people to come back and buy the bigger versions. So yeah, they was a great thing to bring in.
That was a great idea. And did that come from customer feedback, or was that something you came up with?
No, that's because my brain never ever shuts off, as most small business owners. So I was thinking of different ways so I do a seasonal, I do 2 subscriptions. I do a seasonal wellbeing box, and I also do a wax melt subscription. And all the time in the seasonal exclusive box, there's an exclusive scent. And people started to say to me, oh, it's a shame that you don't do those exclusive scents like as a collection. And that's kind of what started it off. I started thinking, actually, that's not a bad idea. I wonder if I could do that with the whole collection, my signature collection. And yeah, and that's kind of what triggered the idea off.
Also, I think it's a really good idea.
Yeah, it's worked really well. I mean, I every week they're going out the discovery bags. So yeah,
And coming back to the feedback you get from customers, do you find when you put a poll on Instagram, do you get a lot back from people? Are people engaging with you? And the reason I ask is feedback is so hard to get, so it's amazing if you are.
Yeah, I'm really fortunate. I get great engagement on Instagram. Again, I think because of that community, the community side of it. And I genuinely think that people are lovely. People want to help, and they want to feel heard by you. And if they give feedback and I then implement that, it makes them feel very special. And so yeah, my Instagram community know that I love their feedback. I will take any criticisms on board, anything. So I think the more you do it, the more people think that you genuinely want to know. I mean, I will joke sometimes and I'll say, okay, by this stage, you guys are actually running my business, because I'll be asking for feedback on something, whether it's changing labels or, I don't know, bringing out a new scent, and I'm between 2 and I say, which one, do you like the idea of more? And I'm always asking for feedback. It's important to me. I think the people pleaser in me strives to hear that feedback and wants to do the right thing.
And as you say, your customers are the best source of advice, inspiration, and ideas for how to run your business. Because I mean, it's for them, isn't it?
That's why you do it, isn't it? I mean, yes, we all have to earn a living, but my why has always been to provide, simple self-care for busy people. It's important that we look after ourselves. So yes, it's not a charity, but at the same time, it's, my why has never changed as to why I've created my brand. And I send out a newsletter every month, and in that I will always say, if there's anything that I'm an open book. If anybody ever wants to give me any feedback or something you feel I can do better, or and I will always be very open about that.
I think that's brilliant. And I think as people see that you implement things that they suggest as well, that, like you say, that just encourages even more feedback.
Yeah, I think they think, oh God, she does listen, or, I'm not just asking for lip service. I genuinely want to know, because as well, I've found as well, since being on my own, like with not my husband here, my audience have kind of become the people I run things by. So I will joke with them and say, you're now my surrogate husband, because I have them to run it by, because they know my business as well as I do.
And it's important to have that, isn't it? It's important to have someone or multiple someones to run things by.
Yeah, it really is. It's that kind of working, when you work as a solo, solo small business owner, you can sometimes second guess yourself all the time, even though in your heart you're doing the right thing. It's not seeking permission. It's just like, sorry, that's my door again. Sorry, I think it's a delivery. Yeah, I think it's important to have those people to run things by, because even though you know in your heart you're doing the right thing and you feel very comfortable with your decision, just to sort of, I don't know, have that one person, or in my case, 4,000 people say, yeah, I love that idea. It just gives you that confidence. And, bringing a product, especially a new candle blend, to market is a lengthy process. I mean, sometimes it can take months if the testing doesn't go right. So, yeah, I always want to make sure I'm on the same song sheet as my customers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Not always. Yeah.
So a lot of your products, I'm guessing, might be bought as gifts. So do you have any advice for selling products intended for gifting? Because obviously candles make amazing gifts.
Yeah, I mean, gifting is such an honor. I feel such a sense of, I don't know, that warm fuzzy feeling if somebody tells me they're buying something for a gift. And you don't always find out if they are, but sometimes people might say, oh, could you pop a gift note in, or which I love to do. So I think that it really does feel like an honor. And with I don't do actually millions of gift sets, although this Christmas there may be a lot more coming. But the gifting, I think it's giving people options. So having options for them, like I worked with a potter to create lots of little tea light holders for me. So having them in 3 colorways, all set up as a gift set, ready to go. It's boxed, it's ribboned, it's ready. I think that's a really good thing to do, because people, especially last minute shoppers, they love to think I could just literally buy that and it's it's around Auntie Jones in no time. And having those options, and also personalization, people love, which again is something that is coming to Whist this year. I've just invested in a wonderful machine, so there's going to be all personalization with that. So, and I think that's, people love that with gifting. They love that kind of personal touch. I bought out a letterbox gift, oh gosh, 3 years ago, and that is just, again, one of those big sellers, because it's really reasonably priced, and it's boxed in a box that will literally go through someone's letterbox, so they don't have to have their giftee being at home or checking that it will go through the letterbox, and that's a really popular little gift. So it's just having those options and price points, from reasonably priced sort of £15 up to £100, if that's what people want.
That makes sense. I think it sounds like having products that are intended for gifting, like you said, like your sets, make a lot of sense, because they're ready, like you said, they're ready-made gifts. They come wrapped up, they look beautiful.
And it's giving people that idea before they even know they need that idea, isn't it? It's and some companies do that so well. I mean, like, I'm not just talking candle brands, but I can think of sort of companies who just do their gifting beautifully. And I know myself, if I'm ever stuck for a present for someone, I will go onto certain sites and know that I can find something. So it's giving them that visual that this is the perfect gift that you need, without them perhaps even knowing that that's what they was looking for. And I think the only way you can have that is with nice photography, and having them all ready made, ready to go.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Oh,
And thank you so much for everything you shared today, Kerry. It's been so
you're
lovely to
welcome.
speak.
It's been my pleasure.
I
Enjoyed
did
it.
one more question before we finish, if that's okay. This is the big one, because I ask this to everyone.
Okay.
What would your number one piece of advice be for other product creators?
Oh, good one. I think my biggest piece of advice would be stay in your lane. Don't almost be blinkered about it, and don't worry what anybody else is doing. Don't think that you've got to follow trends or follow the popular kids or the big brands. Just do what is from your heart, because if it isn't, you'll tire very quickly, and it won't feel fun and authentic, and it will feel like a really hard job if you're not doing something you love. So most of us who start small businesses, I think, I'm not saying all, but most, it was a hobby that we loved before it became a job. So if you do it where that you change everything because you want, you want to fit in with everybody else, it will become dull to you quite quickly. So stay in your own lane and do not compare yourself to anybody else. We will all get there in our own time and on our own journey. So yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant advice. I love that. Thank you so much, Kerry.
You're so welcome.